You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. And on today's episode of the podcast, we're reviewing the third T20 International between Australia and Pakistan. Another dominant performance by Australia to claim the series 3-0. A Marcus Stoinis cameo of 61 not out, plus Aaron Hardy and Adam Zampa's spells during their bowling efforts guided Australia to victory in this last game of this T20 series, but also guided them to a 3-0 series win after a very disappointing ODI series. Once again, Pakistan's poor batting and another batting collapse cost them dearly in this last game, as it has done throughout the series. And no doubt they will be disappointed with the way they batted in this last game of the series. But I suppose for Pakistan, even though they didn't win the T20 series, at least they won the one-day series, and they have something to be proud of on this tour of Australia. So plenty of things to talk about from this third T20 International between Australia and Pakistan in today's episode. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. And first of all, let's have a look at how the game panned out in terms of the match summary and how things worked itself out in this game. Pakistan batted first, made 117 all out from 18.1 overs. Babar Azam top scored with 41. Aaron Hardy was the standout with the bowling for Australia, took 3 wickets. Australia needed 118 runs to win. They finished on 3 for 118 from 11.2 overs. Marcus Stoinis top scored with 61 not out. And Abbas Afridi, Jananat Khan, and Shaheen Shah Afridi all took a wicket each for Pakistan. Australia won by 7 wickets. And Marcus Stoinis was rightly named man of the match, or should I say player of the match, for his 61 not out of 27 balls. Now, what were the key moments and key factors from this third T20 between Australia and Pakistan? Well, pretty much Aaron Hardy and Adam Zampa's spells of bowling were key in terms of Australia bowling Pakistan out for 117. Both of them were pretty economical. Both of them took wickets, and that really set Pakistan back in their batting effort. So those spells from Hardy and Zampa were instrumental. Plus Marcus Stoinis' innings of 61 not out of 27 ensured Australia chased down 117. Pretty much his innings pretty much sealed the deal for Australia in this game. And that was a pivotal innings as well, because when you're chasing a low score, you only need one batter to really make a big score to get you over the line. And that's what Marcus Stoinis did for Australia. And they were able to chase down Pakistan's 117. So those were some of the key moments and key factors from this third T20 between Australia and Pakistan from Bill Reeve Oval. Let's talk about how both Australia and Pakistan performed in the third T20 at Bill Reeve Oval, and talk about their performances with bat and ball, and where it went right and wrong for both teams. We'll start with Australia. We'll talk about their batting performance first in this third T20. Chasing 117, they made light work of the run chase. 117 was not going to be challenging for Australia. They made light work of the run chase. They finished on 3 for 118 from 11.2 overs, which was pretty much expected when chasing this low score that Pakistan set Australia. Marcus Stoinis was clearly the standout, 61 not out of 27. He shared some pretty good partnerships with Josh Inglis, 55 for the third wicket, and 33 unbeaten for the fourth wicket with Tim David, which pretty much sealed the deal for Australia in this third T20 International. Good to see Marcus Stoinis playing innings like this. We know that he's capable of playing these types of innings in his career. He had some freedom to go out there and just whack the ball, and really no pressure on him, really. No pressure on Australia to get the job done. In terms of a challenging chase, straightforward run chase 117 was easily chaseable. Marcus Stoinis, some good highlights throughout his innings of 61 of 27. Hit a big six, which hit the roof of the stand at Bellerive Oval, which was a pretty powerful hit, pretty strong hit. Just shows how much power Marcus Stoinis has, and his nickname is the Hulk after all. So it was pretty good to see Marcus Stoinis do well. Josh Inglis got some runs, 27 or 24. Jake Fraser-McGurk, frustrating innings again. He looked pretty good. He played some good shots, then got out. Matt Short was disappointing, getting out for 2. Tim David really didn't have to do much at the end. It was all Marcus Stoinis, really. So Tim David had a bit of a front row seat from the non-strikers end. But I think Australia will be pleased in terms of the way that they chased down these runs. They made pretty easy work of the chase and pretty much got the job done, which is the important thing. So nothing really to add on about Australia's batting. Pretty straightforward when you're chasing a low score of 117 in the T20 match. You just need 1 or 2 good partnerships, and you probably need 1 good innings, which we saw from Marcus Stoinis, to pretty much get you over the line, really. So the batting for Australia, pretty convincing and pretty dominant, really. The bowling performance, it was a good effort to bowl Pakistan out for 117. They took wickets frequently, the bowlers. They halted Pakistan's momentum after a great start from Pakistan. Pakistan were 1 for 58 at the end of the power play and were pretty much off to a very good start, but that was halted because of the loss of wickets, and pretty much Adam Zampa, Aaron Hardy, their spells of bowling were pretty good. Both of them were very economical. Adam Zampa only went for 2 runs and over from his 4 overs, 2 for 11. Hardy was good, 3 for 21 from 4, just going for 5 and over. Bartlett, Ellis, Spencer Johnson chipped in with some wickets. So the bowling was pretty good from Australia. They just bowled a pretty good line and length and was helped out with some poor Pakistan decision-making with their batting and some mistakes there. And they were able to pick up wickets here and there. So a very good bowling performance again from Australia. And we've seen from the bowlers throughout the whole entire series, all of them have done pretty well. And that's to be expected. All of them are T20 specialists. They know what they're doing. They've played a lot of Big Bash cricket. They know what they need to do. They're accustomed to these sort of situations in either the IPL or the Big Bash, and they know what to do. So throughout this series, good encouraging signs from Bartlett, Ellis, Johnson. We know what we're going to get from Zampa, Aaron Hardy in this game. So the future looks bright for Australia in terms of the T20 bowling stocks going forward. And once again, Australia's fielding was pretty good. Good fielding from Australia, good intensity. As we've seen throughout the 3 games of this T20 series, the fielding has been superb. So the bowling for Australia overall, very dominant, and the team performance overall was pretty good. And they'll be very delighted by the way that they won this last game of the series and to win the series 3-0. Let's move on and talk about Pakistan's performance in this 3rd T20 International between them and Australia. We'll talk about the batting performance first of all for Pakistan. 117 from 18.1 overs. It's an indication of how poorly they batted in this game. They got off to a reasonable start, 1 for 58 in the power play, looking good. They were on track to score a big score. And usually here at Bellerive, it's a pretty good batting surface, as we've seen in the Big Bash in recent times. Teams can score 200 plus. I think when the West Indies played Australia in Bellerive early this year, in that T20 series that Australia played the West Indies in, both teams scored over 200. So it just shows you how well of a batting surface it is. And once you get in and get set, you're going to score some big runs. And we were hoping with the start that Pakistan had, that was going to be the case. Babar Azam looked good for his 41 off 28. Hasibullah Khan looked good for his 24. But then once they went, it pretty much was all over for Pakistan. They lost 9 for 56 in a batting collapse. Just kept losing wickets in clumps, just like in the games in Brisbane and Sydney. They lost wickets in clumps. No partnerships. Babar Azam, as I mentioned, was set. He was looking good, but he couldn't go on with it. Poor shot selection, poor game awareness from the Pakistan batters, really. And that's what cost them. And whenever you're losing wickets at regular intervals in a T20 match, it's very hard to recover from that. And Pakistan were never going to get a competitive total to bowl to. 117 was clearly not enough. It wasn't enough. Australia made light work of the run chase. But they would have been disappointed with the way they batted. And throughout the whole entire series, their batting has been very poor. They've been good in patches, Pakistan. Their batting's been good in patches, but it needs to be consistent in T20 cricket. You can't have good periods here and there. You've got to be good throughout the whole 20 overs, and they weren't in this last game. They were very poor. Obviously, Mohammad Rizwan didn't play in this last game. He was having a rest to give other opportunities to other players. It was a pretty poor performance, it had to be said, from Pakistan, really. And that's why they lost this series 3-0, because their batting has let them down tremendously in this series. If you can't score runs in a T20 match, you're not going to be on track to win the games. And that's what happened. So nothing much to add on to Pakistan's batting, really. It was pretty poor at the end of the day. Now, in terms of the bowling performance, defending 117 was going to be a tall order. It wasn't going to be, a target that was going to be easily defended. You're on the back foot straight away, and the bowlers didn't have enough runs to play with, really. I suppose they took 3 wickets, and I suppose, when you're in this sort of situation where you can't really win the game, the game is probably out of reach, and probably Pakistan thought about that before they went onto the field for the bowling side of things. They probably knew that, the game's done. Let's try and pick up some wickets here and there, and so be it. But it was always going to be tough, however you looked at it, in terms of defending 117. They took 3 wickets early on, but really Marcus Stoinis really lined them up. He really lined up Haris Rauf, and took him downtown. And for the first time across the ODIs and the T20s, we didn't see an impact from Haris Rauf. He didn't really have much of an impact. He was pretty expensive, none for 34 from his 3, and really didn't have an impact whatsoever. So the Australian batters had a new mentality towards that and just go out and just swing hard and put him under pressure. And that's what Marcus Stoinis did. The rest of the bowlers struggled in their own way. But at the end of the day, pretty much not enough runs on the board. The bowlers were under pressure from ball 1 in the run chase. And, defending the 117 was not going to happen. So, the bowling performance for Pakistan overall, pretty disappointing. The team performance overall, pretty disappointing as well. After what was a great ODI series, to now lose the T20s 3-0 was disappointing. So for Pakistan, they'll be disappointed with how they've played in this last game of this series, but also how they played in the other 2 games of this series as well. Some final thoughts to end our third T20 review between Australia and Pakistan today. Australia outplayed Pakistan in this third T20, thanks to a Marcus Stoinis cameo plus match-winning spells with the ball from Aaron Hardy and Zampa, guided Australia to a 3-0 series win. And after what was a disappointing ODI series, to bounce back in the T20s the way they have will certainly make them very happy and, getting back on track to winning ways. On the other hand, for Pakistan, they will rue another batting collapse. 117 in this game was not enough. They will be disappointed to lose this match, but also to lose the T20 series 3-0 after winning the ODI series 2-1. Pakistan will be very disappointed. But I suppose for Pakistan, at least they've got a positive from this tour of Australia, and that's winning the ODI series. They would have liked to have won the T20 series, but it wasn't to be, as Australia were simply better of the 2 teams across the 3 games. Thanks, everyone, for listening to our third T20 review between Australia and Pakistan. If you're watching or listening to this episode of the podcast on our YouTube channel, let us know your thoughts on this third T20 International between Australia and Pakistan in the comments. We would love to hear what you have to say. Thanks for watching and listening. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.